Vikes Now, Dustin Baker, the Tuesday, May 3rd edition. We are talking about Garrett Bradbury today, who is the starting center for the Minnesota Vikings. He made many headlines yesterday, M-I-N-I, many headlines, because indeed the team opted not to retain him for his fifth year, which means he is not on the docket to be on the team in 2023. Now, the coaching staff, and I think even general manager, have said positive things about Bradbury through this honeymoon phase for the new leadership, which indicates he's slated to be the center for this season, this September, in week 1. So I'm going to go into several things about the implications of that. Foremost, Bradbury was selected in the 2019 NFL Draft with the 18th overall pick. And that was supposed to be the end-all, the fix-all remedy to refurbish the Vikings' offensive line once and for all and make it a formidable unit, especially in the interior there. And the last time that a center was taken with higher draft capital than that in the NFL Draft was 23 years ago. In 1999, Damian Woody was drafted by the Patriots. Why do I bring this up? To illuminate how much of a slam dunk that should have been drafting Garrett Bradbury. You're not supposed to use that high draft capital to fix an offensive line in the guts of it. But the Vikings, Rick Spielman, put his foot down, said, we're going to fix the son of a bitch once and for all, and we're drafting this surefire dude from North Carolina State. He's not a surefire dude. He does a lot of stuff well. But his shortcomings don't coalesce with the Vikings' offense very well. In fact, they make it out of harmony. It's not a good mix. So overall, he is a decent offensive lineman. His Pro Football Focus scores, starting in 2019 onward, are 58.1, 61.4, 60.2. And for the purple and yellow team, that ain't bad. For a structurally sound team like the Ravens or the Colts, that's not very good. But for the Vikings, we always say at least average in the trenches. We'll take it. We're used to the putrid ways we've seen, so give us something we can at least work with. So overall, that PFF grade for Bradbury, that's doable, so to speak. However, his shortcomings don't jive well with the QB1, who is Kirk Cousins and is a pocket passer. He doesn't thrive. At least we don't even know what it's like when he has a pristine pocket, to pass the football. So Bradbury's weaknesses, as you know, if you watch all these games or watch shows like this with dudes like me, his pass blocking is problematic. So down the line again, from 2019 until 2021, his pass blocking grades are as follows: 38.7, 38.8, 43.7. So it's getting better incrementally, baby steps, but that's not good. It's not worth first-round draft capital. It's not even worth fourth-round draft capital. So that's the problem. His weaknesses directly clash with what the Vikings want to do. So when you see yesterday just kind of trickled out, by the way, the Vikings aren't picking up his fifth-year option, it's no surprise at all that they're not doing that. So I think the misnomer is that he gone. They didn't pick up his option. If you skim headlines, you read that and you're like, oh, Bradbury's gone. Nope. He'll be back this year unless he gets cut this summer, which would have some dead cap implications. But the fact that they declined the $13.2 million fifth-year option is an absolute duh moment. Of course they did. Even if he was awesome, they probably wouldn't opt into $13.2 million for a center. The format of rookie contracts for first-rounders doesn't discriminate based on position. So I don't think. So the fact that it was a center getting $13.2 million was just the way it goes for first-rounders at that spot in the draft, the 18th pick 3 years ago. So yeah, he could have been an all-pro center, and I'm not sure they would have opted in for $13 million. They probably, maybe. Who knows? It doesn't matter anymore because he's on the pathway to not being able to work here anymore. With that said, he has a 1-year audition. Kevin O'Connell has spoken highly about him. I think he said that he watched him coming out of the draft. He says that about all these dudes. Kellen Mond, that it's his job to scout the players and keep an eye on collegiate matters. And Bradbury was one of the dudes that I guess evidently, he thought had a promising future. So before summer festivities kick off, training camp, you have to assume that they're not lying and that Bradbury will get one more shot because they want him to work out. Like, you and me are cynical and we're like, can't wait for him to be gone because, he can't, he's the proverbial parking cone right there that, just go right past him or blow right past him. But the Vikings don't want him to be that way. They want him to work out, especially this season, under a brand new storefront in an offensive-minded enterprise. And that's how you should feel too. As much as you're sour on him, at least you know now that they're not going to do something silly like opt into his 5th year. Now he's got a true prove-it year, final year of his contract. The cliche when dudes tend to ball out, to prove it and get paid big. But this is it. This is his one big shot, his 8-mile moment to prove whether or not he can be a bona fide starting center in the NFL, and he gets a little boost because there's an offense-first regime coming in. Whether you like Bradbury, you think he's got some promise, or you're sick of him, never want to see him again, there's still, regardless of the fandom or your opinion, there's still the option to explore J.C. Tretter, who Vikings fans have mentioned for about 7 or 8 weeks since he was stunningly released by the Browns. Now, I think he might have some suspect injuries like knee problems, those are the whispers, but if he doesn't, some team should sign on for him because unlike Bradbury, he's one of the best pass-blocking centers on planet Earth. And boom, bada bing, that would work if the Vikings wanted to onboard him. Now, perhaps the whole reason he's not getting attention from these offensive line-needy teams is because, indeed, the knees are bad. We shall see, or those reports should come out here in the coming weeks or months. But if that's smoke and he's fine, he should be playing football somewhere because Tretter is marvelous. There was even, before I got on the show here, there's some tweets that said Tretter's dad was liking other tweets about him wanting to join the Vikings or some shit like that. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was the tweet-like phenomenon or Instagram-like that people like to indulge in. But I don't know if it's true or not, but it's still kind of funny and noteworthy. But yeah, if Tretter's healthy, you can just forget about Bradbury, put him on an island, make him the C3 on the depth chart, and put Austin Schlottman at 2. Let's just go with that, because Tretter would instantly fix the number one problem for the Vikings offensive line, which is suspect pass protection. And you know it, because it's been going on since 2018. The other interesting option is Ed Ingram, who Minnesota spent second-round draft capital on Friday night. By trade, I believe he's a right guard, but I believe that he has some center experience at LSU, taking snaps there. And in theory, he could slide over one spot and be the center. And that might be a more common sense-laden plan than signing Tretter, who would be sort of expensive. If they wanted Tretter, they'd have to go renegotiate contracts with Eric Kendricks and Dalvin Cook to free up the cap space. If Ingram is solution-oriented, don't need to do any of that shit, because you've got him hanging out, as controversial as his resume might be, looking for a spot on this offensive line. And I don't know if the plan is for him to play center. All I know is that he has, and that the Vikings don't have a very good one. So start looking at the evidence, fire it up. He would be an organic solution to a long-standing offensive line problem at center. And if indeed that is the plan, it starts to check out because they've got 5 guys that can play right guard or at least have that acronym next to their name. It's the Davises, Jesse Davis, Wyatt Davis, Oli Udo. Talked about him yesterday with my colorful adjectives. Ingram and Chris Reed, who I've said before on this very telecast, Chris Reed's probably the best out of all of them based on his Pro Football Focus resume. I don't know if he's better than Ingram. Nobody can know if Ingram's going to thrive when the bright lights come on, but at least for what they've already done in the NFL, Reed is the most sensible option unless Pro Football Focus is lying, which is unlikely. Regardless, that's a lot of guys. Even for a camp battle, that's a lot of dudes. So that leads me to believe that maybe one of those guys will be the center, and all of this smoke about Bradbury getting one more shot with the new regime is false. It's positive coach speak when they know damn well they're going to find somebody that's a lot better that doesn't have pass protection grades in the 30s and the 40s, because that is inexcusable. And it's not fair to any quarterback, let alone one who makes a career as a pocket passer. Not a mobile one, some dude who chills in the pocket and flings it. So yeah, they could slide one of the others over. That remains to be seen. Unfortunately, that'll be a mystery until at least probably July, when training camp starts to happen. You see who they trot out at these scrimmages. No matter what happens with Bradbury, especially if he gets playing time, this will be one of the biggest litmus tests of the Zimmer regime versus the O'Connell, like the old way and the new way. If O'Connell and his pals come in to Egan in Minneapolis, and all of a sudden Bradbury's good, or he can pass block better than 43.7 per PFF, then it really shows that the Zimmer folks on an offensive side of things didn't know what the hell they were doing. And perhaps that will be the case, but it really would be interesting if somehow they unlock Bradbury. I don't think that they will, perhaps with his natural progression going into year 4, plus a new approach with new leadership faces and coaches and techniques, maybe he will get better, but I really think you would have seen some competence vis-a-vis pass blocking by now if he had it in there. But again, in theory, if he comes out and you're like, holy shit, Bradbury's suddenly awesome, then that really will become a mini indictment on Zimmer and the way that they used to coach. A couple final thoughts here. I don't think I've ever lifted this up on the show. I've said it in my writings. I talk about it with my pals. It cannot be underestimated ever, especially for those who follow this team with a fine-tooth comb, what the death of Tony Sparano did to the offensive line of the Vikings. He passed away in the summer of 2018, and you can mark it down on your calendar retroactively. That's when the bad shit started, is when he passed away. 2017, Keenum masked like deodorant some of the pass protection woes because he, was just a playground-style quarterback. But if you follow the clues, the evidence, the offensive line, especially the inside of it, got really messy with pass protection suddenly when Kirk Cousins came aboard in 2018. And it's probably not some big coincidence that Sparano passed away and then the offensive line started having problems. Now, that doesn't help us now because, unfortunately, he ain't coming back. But I say that to lift it up, at least as a testament to him, what he was able to do for a couple of seasons with the Vikings offensive line. It wasn't this bad. In 2017, it was actually pretty good. We consider good about 16th best in the world. And that's what the Vikings were in pass protection in 2017. And shockingly, they went to the playoffs in the NFC Championship because they had trenches that weren't leaky. But the impact that Sparano's departure, had on the Vikings really flies under the radar. They haven't been able to fix this since he died. And, it's awful in all aspects, especially for, his family. That's what I got on Bradbury. We can always look back no matter what happens. If he's cut this summer, if he turns out to be an all-pro center, or if he's just average and doesn't come back to the team, you can always remember his cool catch against the Packers. And it was really a kumbaya moment because he takes a lot of heat from Vikings fans because of that first-round draft stock. But that little circus catch that he had against the Packers in that shitty Monday night game, was it Monday or Sunday? It was a Sunday night game. Whatever game that was in week 17 at Lambeau Field, when the ball went up in the air and he grabbed it and just started barreling down the field. At least we'll have that memory. I will be back on Wednesday with a new topic, and that's all I got for Tuesday. Skol, baby.